South Africa's President Jacob Zuma 1 year ago announced a major offensive against the HIV/AIDS virus.
To take our response a step forward, we are launching a massive campaign to mobilize all South Africans to get tested for HIV. Every South African should know his or her HIV status.
Mr. Zuma said 15 million people would be tested for HIV in the next year. Treatment programs would be expanded and a major prevention campaign would be launched. This represented a dramatic shift in policy from the previous government, which downplayed the seriousness of the epidemic. AIDS activist Mark Haywood is deputy chairman of South Africa's National AIDS Council. He says this year nearly 4 million people were tested and the number of people receiving treatment doubled.
You know, there are many, many positives, but having stressed the positives, I also want to say that HIV remains a massive challenge.
Haywood says HIV prevalence in South Africa has stabilized, but deaths and new infection rates are largely unchanged. He blames this on a lack of resources, determination, and planning. The United Nations, in a report issued on the eve of AIDS Day, said nevertheless progress is being made across Africa, where 2/3 of all HIV victims live. UNAIDS Regional Director Sheila Tlo said in the past decade, new infections and deaths continent-wide had declined by 25%, but she warned against complacency.
Even though the number of HIV infections is decreasing, there is still a need for prevention because there are 2 new HIV infections for every 1 person that is put on HIV treatment.
Haywood believes the global fight against HIV is at a pivotal point.
Many of the gains of the last decade have been driven by activism, by people with HIV standing, making themselves seen, making themselves heard, by HIV being cast as a moral issue globally, as an issue of inequality. But I fear that approach has run out of steam, not that it's run out of legitimacy.
Activists say global politics and economics are more complex, and they fear a loss of momentum and political commitment, along with the decline in funds due to the financial crisis. Scott Bobb, VOA News, Johannesburg.